It's worth reminding each other that none of us will ever see anything quite like this again. The calendar turning to another 1,000 years. And as NBC's Jim Maseda tells us tonight from London, everyone wanted to be in on it. Jim?
Tom, long before most Americans even got up today, people elsewhere were marking their millennium in their way. 19 time zones from New York City, the islanders of Kiribati in the South Pacific. A village elder hands a burning torch to a young boy, a symbol of continuity.
Take this torch of peace and hope from Kiribati.
This, the first New Year celebration on the planet. Only 18 minutes later, on Chatham Island off New Zealand, a new life for Monique and Dean, perhaps the first bride and groom of the third millennium. And the first baby? 6 were born in the first 20 minutes of New Zealand's New Year. Meet Otupu Fetwani, the millennium's first girl. As the year 2000 sweeps across the globe, celebrations take on many faces. Chairman Jiang Zemin leads his nation in festivities in Beijing, while across town, 2,000 Chinese couples tie the knot, one of thousands of mass weddings across continents today. From the cast iron bells struck 108 times, the traditional Buddhist start of the New Year in Tokyo, to the less conventional 100-foot bungee jump in the town where the jump was invented, Queenstown, New Zealand. Even at the site of Egypt's Giza pyramids, a truly millennial mix of old and new, a 12-hour laser show. In Athens, the ancient Acropolis alight, where past and future merge. In Cape Town, former South African President Nelson Mandela passing his torch to a new generation, returning to his prison of 18 years on Robben Island. And Germans in Berlin, marking their millennium at Brandenburg Gate, the very spot where only 10 years ago a wall divided them, east and west, and the world. And it still won't be New Year's for the people way out in the west in French Polynesia for another 11 hours. This party is far from over. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's Jim Maseda tonight. Now let's go to France, where New Year's celebrations have been muted somewhat by a week of deadly weather throughout that country. But in Paris, the festivities did go on as planned, and NBC's Donna Friesen is in the heart of the French capital and joins us now. Donna?
And Tom, the City of Lights certainly lived up to its reputation. I'm above the Champs-Élysées, which is now a mile-long sea of lights, of music, of people, of Ferris wheels. But of course, the focus, the highlight, was about half an hour ago at the Eiffel Tower. It shimmered, it glowed. It erupted, was dressed in lights and fireworks that 20 mountain climbers spent more than 3 months installing, almost 8 miles of lights, a cost of $2.6 million. The goal was to create an illusion of the Eiffel Tower blasting off, and then moments later along the Champs-Élysées, a number of Ferris wheels began spinning in unison. They're not rides so much as works of art designed to create the illusion of a train moving down the Champs-Élysées, bringing France into the next century, into the next millennium. So, Tom, there was massive security in place here tonight, but so far everything has gone very smoothly in Paris.
Thanks very much, NBC's Donna Friesen tonight on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. But the most stunning news of the day did come from Moscow early with the surprise announcement from Boris Yeltsin that he is resigning as president and turning over power to his prime minister, Vladimir Putin. The transfer has been peaceful. Elections are scheduled in 3 months. But there's much more to this story than just the surprise. And NBC's Dana Lewis is in Moscow tonight. Dana, what's the latest there?
Well, Tom, Boris Yeltsin chose the last day of the year to drop a political bombshell. Midnight in Moscow, not only the beginning of a new century, but the beginning of a new political era. It was high noon during his New Year's Eve address when Boris Yeltsin made his stunning announcement. He would resign as president effective immediately.
I am stepping down ahead of term. I understand I must do it, and Russia must enter the new millennium with new politicians, new faces, and with new, intelligent, strong, energetic people.
Yeltsin, who had only 6 months remaining in his term in office, named Vladimir Putin as acting president. The 47-year-old Putin, a former KGB agent and then an intelligence official, had little political experience until he was tapped as prime minister just 3 months ago. And now, soon after Yeltsin's announcement, Putin was given the briefcase with the launch codes that control Russia's nuclear arsenal. Why did Yeltsin step down? Chronic health problems, his heart, ulcers, and bouts with pneumonia have kept him off the job. And there are questions about whether Yeltsin and his family use their power and influence to get financial kickbacks. In fact, today, one of Putin's first moves, a guarantee of immunity from criminal prosecution for Yeltsin and his family. As for the man who impressed the world when he stood on a tank in 1991 to protect democracy, today he apologized to Russians for disappointing them in the last few difficult years.
I want to beg your forgiveness for your dreams that never came true.
Then he waved goodbye to spend New Year's Eve alone with his family. In a midnight speech, Putin here let everyone know that he is very much in charge. He says he won't tolerate anyone attempting to undermine his authority. He is considered to be a formidable candidate, tough to beat in the upcoming presidential election in March. Tom?
Thanks very much. NBC's Dana Lewis tonight in Moscow. At the White House tonight, the President, the First Lady, and Chelsea Clinton are hosting a Millennium dinner that is being called a salute to American achievement. Along with the usual Washington notables are many celebrities. All of them are lining up at this hour to shake the hands of their hosts. Earlier in the day, the Clinton administration was crafting its response to the news of Boris Yeltsin's sudden departure from the Kremlin and looking forward, it said, to working with the new man in charge, Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. NBC's White House correspondent is David Bloom, and he joins us now from the White House. David?
Tom, officially, Washington is welcoming Yeltsin's successor. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright calls him a hard worker, a can-do guy. But it is Vladimir Putin who has staked Russia's pride and his own political future on waging a brutal war against separatists in Chechnya. Day one of Putin's presidency, the war intensifies. Russian troops fire 3 Scud missiles into Chechnya. Stoking Russian nationalism, Putin, the former KGB agent, has seen his popularity soar as Russian troops assault the Chechen capital, Grozny. Just last month in Oslo, Norway, Putin rebuffed President Clinton's attempts to urge a negotiated settlement to the war. Critics call Putin calculating and ruthless.
We do not know very much about him beyond his facade of a former KGB officer who is not afraid to spill blood.
But tonight, President Clinton says he welcomes Russia's peaceful and democratic transition. And a senior White House official calls Putin, quotes, somebody you can do business with. But a top Russia scholar says Putin makes me nervous.
He could be the person that brings Russia out of its decline and restores Russia as a great nation, or he could be the leader that makes Russia into an authoritarian regime again.
Of course, tonight, President Clinton's focus is less on Russia than on the Millennium celebrations here in the nation's capital. Tonight, the President, the First Lady, Chelsea, they'll all join more than 100,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial, at the Washington monuments to celebrate the new year amid some of the tightest security this city's ever seen. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's David Bloom, and of course we'll have live coverage of that later. We want to remind you that in just 20 minutes we'll be going live to London. London claims that it's going to win the competition among the world's greatest cities for this celebration, welcoming in a new millennium. Among other things, they're going to set the Thames River on fire. But now let's go to Rome, the Vatican, where Pope John Paul has just welcomed the new century in front of a huge crowd at St. Peter's Square. For the Pope, this night marks the fulfillment of a very personal mission. NBC's Keith Miller is at the Vatican, and he joins us now. Keith?
Tom, in St. Peter's Square, where it's standing room only, about 100,000 people joined the Pope here to count down the clock to the new millennium. The security was very strict, but nonetheless, people were enjoying themselves immensely. The Vatican, of course, is not a place that hosts parties, but there was one here tonight. Appearing just before midnight, Pope John Paul joined the crowd to watch the fireworks over the Vatican. Then he spoke, quote, to the city and the world, unquote, in a blessing. The Pope wishing everyone a new year filled with serenity and happiness. For the 79-year-old Pope with deteriorating health, this is a milestone for him. He was hoping, of course, to lead the church into the third millennium. He has now succeeded at that. And he has another wish for the new millennium, Tom, and that is to go to the Holy Land. He plans a trip to Jerusalem, Nazareth, and Bethlehem in March. Tom?
Thank you very much, Keith Miller. Let's go ourselves now from the Vatican to the Holy Land, the Middle East. First to Bethlehem on the West Bank, where the new century is arriving with a candlelight vigil in the streets of that ancient town where Christ was born.